Everybody, my name is Matt Jarbo. This is $3 Theater. And one of the franchises that I'm not going to lie, that I've always wanted to see kind of go back to it, what I believe is its original greatness, is the Resident Evil franchise, right? When the first movie opened in 2002, I thought Paul W.S. Anderson did a fantastic job creating this fun, creepy, action-packed movie that was, I think, in essence, a kind of blow to Uwe Boll a little bit, because he was also trying to make video game movies. We had Resident Evil 1, which was actually pretty solid, then followed up the next year by House of the Dead, and then after that it was all the other ones that Bull made. Love him or hate him, he's been around. And I think as a result of the response to House of the Dead and those kind of movies, the next set of films coming out of the Resident Evil franchise got a little bit awkward, right? You look at Resident Evil 2, was that Apocalypse was the second movie, right? It was all kind of crazy, it was trying to do Raccoon City and talk about stars and the Nemesis and everything. And then of course you get into number 3, and number 3 she now has telekinetic scanners abilities, which I thought was just stupid. Number 3 is not very good. But then in number 4 they get rid of all those abilities and they bring Alice back to just being a clone, and that she's still kick-ass but no telekinetic abilities. And then 5, utterly forgettable in and of itself. 5 is utterly forgettable in and of itself. And then number 6 wrapped up the franchise, and again, just a really kind of dumb movie. But the franchise always tried taking it bigger, bolder, crazier, and I could always kind of respect that, even though I think many people out there really wanted the very kind of nuts and bolts of the original, the horror in a mansion, you don't know what's around the next corner, and everything else. And as a result of that, the next movie actually has its script done. Resident Evil Reboot script is done. The video game inspiration is revealed. And of course, this is coming off of BIOHAZARD, Resident Evil 7, that came out, I want to say, close to 2 years ago. And it was one that a lot of people really, really liked. I haven't played it personally, but all of my friends who are horror junkies dove into it, and they really liked it. In fact, Gary Russo, who was writing the script, this is what he has to say. He was discussing this during a recent interview. He says how he approached the reboot, revealing that he used Resident Evil 7 Biohazard as a major influence, saying, obviously, I'm a huge fan of the franchise, so to work on that was a lot of fun. And they've made 6 films before, so when you come back to that and reboot it, you want to do something different and not just rehash. For me, it was a very clear cut that I wanted to go back and make it scary again, like a horror film in the terms of the classic James Wan style. So that was the pitch, going back and looking at what made the game scary in the first place. So yeah, Resident Evil 7 was a bit of a touchstone for my draft. And of course, Paul W.S. Anderson and Milla Jovovich are not involved in the movie at all. All right, they're not involved in it at all. But of course, now James Wan has come on to produce, and with Aquaman coming out in just a couple weeks, never mind the fact that he also did the Conjuring movies, which have grossed over $1 billion, just that franchise, and people love that it's scary. He's going to probably come in and tweak things a bit. So the script for the reboot's been turned in. In fact, Russo here goes on to say, I worked on the reboot for about a year, and then Wan came in, and my involvement on the project is kind of concluded, so I'm not sure what they're going to do with it. I've submitted my draft to the producers, and they were happy with it, and ultimately they'll do what they will with the property, but I'm currently not involved in the film. So it's one of the writers who wrote the first draft. Drafts typically go through 2 to 3 revisions before going to production. So what I'm thinking here essentially is that Juan, if he's not super busy with Aquaman or whatever comes next, because I have a feeling he's just going to keep going bigger, bolder, and crazier, he may want to stick with the script, or at least stick with the core concept, right? But here's the problem with that, right? Here's the big problem with where things are in regards to James Wan versus the Resident Evil style. What has made James Wan popular? Well, ultimately, the Conjuring films have really kind of been it recently, but he got his start on the Saw movies. Right? Now, one could argue that the Saw films were probably more in line with what Resident Evil Biohazard was kind of about, with like the backwater, the more kind of like in-your-face gritty horror style is what I'm trying to get to. But in recent years, we've seen a resurgence of this type of demonic spirit possession type stuff. That is what The Conjuring is. And right now, horror movies aren't about the monster in the cellar anymore. They're about what is unseen, what is spiritually kind of hanging out in the wilderness sort of thing. The type of demon you can't see, or the ghost you can't see, but it's still frightening and terrible nonetheless. And I don't know about you, but when the fact they're already working on Annabelle 3, and that's coming out of the Conjuring franchise that Juan is a producer of, and it's about a doll that's not in any way scary, I'm concerned that the Resident Evil reboot will, in fact, well, it's going to go that path versus what it should do, which is follow more of the Romero take, right? More of the Hills Have Eyes meets Night of the Living Dead mentality. You know what I mean? Like, that's what it should be. And I'm hoping that Juan will take it that direction and push for that direction, or other producers will try to influence that, because ultimately that's what I think a lot of fans want. But at the end of the day, this is what the guys got. This is what we know. And I'm hoping that the Resident Evil reboot is actually more in line with the original film and not what it became. Because by the time it was over, you're just sitting there going like, oh, is it done? Can I go home now? You know, it was fun, but it got to be so much and so crazy that you went like, really? Did the Umbrella Corporation really go this far? It just breaks all believability. And even the games do that too. But, you know, what people really want is either Resident Evil 7 Biohazard or Resident Evil 4. If you were to give us Resident Evil 4 as a movie, I have a feeling it would gross a lot of money. But in the meantime, I'm curious to see what's going to happen with this. I'm curious to see what comes out of it. If they keep the script, if they keep the inspiration, or if they go a whole new direction. It's anyone's guess right now, so who knows? Anyway, I leave it to you for your thoughts and your opinions in the chat box. If you made it this far, do me a solid and type them in, and also type in Resident Evil so I know you all made it. And if you're feeling generous, toss up a like and subscribe if you're new. And I'll talk to you all later. My name is, of course, Matt Jarbo. Have yourself a fantastic day, and peace out.